You ever been in one of those spots where you feel like the whole world's pushing down on you, and you're standing there like some poor guy in a samurai movie, staring down a giant with a sword twice your size? Yeah, we've all been there. Bills stacking up, work piling on, feels like you're already beat before the fight even starts. Chapter 1. The enemy's too big, and that's okay. Back in the day, this old Japanese swordsman, Miyamoto Musashi, he wrote this book, The Book of Five Rings. Now, he wasn't just talking about sword fights. He was talking about life, about how to win when you've got every reason to lose. And one of his golden rules? If you can't win head on, don't fight head on. You find the weak spot. You work the angles. Today, our enemies don't come swinging steel at us. They come as debt collectors, corporate ladder climbers, or those perfect-looking people on Instagram who seem to have it all figured out. Let me tell you about a guy named John, 34 years old, lived out in Ohio, had $86,000 in student loans hanging over him like a storm cloud. Every month those bills hit him like clockwork, interest climbing. Feels like he's stuck in a hole that's just getting deeper. Most folks in his shoes try to throw a little cash at every single debt they've got. That's like swinging wildly at 10 enemies at once. Musashi would laugh at that. You don't fight the whole crowd, you take out the biggest threat first. So John picked the loan with the highest interest rate and made that his personal duel. Month after month, he kept chipping away. And you know what? Once that one fell, the rest didn't look so scary. That's Musashi right there. Don't try to win the whole war in a single day. Win the battle that matters most. Now, maybe your enemy isn't a stack of bills. It's the guy in the cubicle next to you, always looking to one-up you, or the company across town that's twice your size and already got the client you wanted. Musashi would tell you, don't race them on their track. Don't try to outmuscle the guy who's been lifting weights for 20 years. Change the game. Watch them closely, see where they're sloppy, and strike there. I knew a kid once who couldn't keep up with the fast talkers in his office. So instead of trying to match their speed, he slowed everything down, became the detail guy. Suddenly, he's the one catching mistakes, saving deals, and the bosses are looking at him differently. That's what I'm talking about. Don't try to win their fight. Make them fight yours. And then there's the sneakiest enemy of them all, social media. You log on and everybody's got a new car, a dream vacation, a promotion, and a six-pack abs. Meanwhile, you're just trying to keep the lights on. It's like showing up to a sword fight with a spoon. Musashi would say, quit chasing somebody else's footsteps. Walk your own path. All that perfect life stuff you see online, smoke and mirrors, my friend. You stop trying to keep up and you start working on the one thing that matters, you. Be a little better today than you were yesterday. That's the only scoreboard that matters. Musashi never said you had to take down every enemy in one glorious swing. He said be smart, pick your fight, find the weak spot, win the little battles, and keep stacking those wins. So when you're staring down a giant, whether it's a mountain of debt, a big shot competitor, or the fake perfection of social media, remember this: you don't have to win it all at once. You just gotta land the right strike, right where it counts, and then keep moving.
Chapter 2. Divide and Conquer. The Art of Small Duels. Here's the thing about fighting. Whether it's with swords or spreadsheets, you don't take on the whole damn battle at once. You break it down. Musashi knew this like he knew the feel of a sword hilt in his hands. Every war is just a bunch of little duels strung together. You win the little ones, you win the war. Most folks mess up because they're staring at the whole monster instead of the one head right in front of them. Same goes for money, work, even the way you look at yourself. The trick? Chop that big ugly mess into pieces you can handle. Let's go back to John for a minute. After he took out that big, ugly, high-interest loan, he didn't just pat himself on the back and go back to old habits. Nah, he started picking smaller fights. First battle, monthly subscriptions. All those $5 and $12 charges that sneak in like thieves at night. Streaming services he never used. Apps he forgot he was paying for. Memberships to things he hadn't touched in months. He canceled every one of them. Boom. First duel won. Second battle, impulse buys. You know, that I deserve this trip to Target that somehow costs $200, or the $8 coffee every morning. He made rules. Cash only for extras. No online orders without a 24-hour wait. Sounds small, right? But those little victories started freeing up money. And more importantly, they gave him momentum. That's what people don't get. Small duels aren't just about progress. They're about psychology. You start stacking wins. Your brain starts believing you can win. Same thing in your career. You don't take on the entire company or try to rewrite the corporate playbook overnight. You take small, winnable projects and crush them. When I was younger, I worked with a guy who wanted to get promoted bad. Problem was, he wasn't top dog in anything. He didn't try to suddenly be the fastest or the most charismatic. He picked one project, just one, and made it his territory. Every detail perfect, every deadline met. He turned that into a reputation, and once people started coming to him for that kind of work, he had leverage. It's like Musashi said, when you win one duel, the next one gets easier because folks start to see you as the guy who wins. Now here's the one that's tougher than debt or work: splitting yourself into smaller battles. By that I mean separating your self-worth from other people's scoreboard. See, most of us carry this big, heavy, I'm not good enough boulder because we're trying to win everybody's approval all at once. You can't do it. But you can pick one small internal fight, like being a little more consistent with your workouts or getting better at one skill you care about, and you make that your duel. When you win that one, you pick the next. Small wins build confidence, and confidence changes the way you fight. You don't swing for the fences every time. You chip away. You take that giant, scary battle and you slice it into little duels you can actually win. And with each one, you're not just beating the problem, you're building yourself into someone who's used to winning. Before you know it, those little duels have added up to something big.
Chapter 3. Tempo and Timing, the key to taking the initiative. Musashi had this little trick he loved to pull in a fight. He'd mess with your rhythm. Just when you thought you had him figured out, he'd speed up, slow down, change direction. And before you knew it, you were off balance, reacting to him instead of making your own moves. That's the thing about tempo. It's not just about speed, it's about control. Whoever controls the rhythm controls the fight. And that's not just true when there's a sword in your hand. It's true in life, too. Most people, they live at whatever pace life shoves them into. Bills come in, they pay them. Boss says jump, they jump. Social media spits out a new trend, and they chase it. That's living on someone else's beat. And if you're always dancing to their music, you're never leading the dance. Musashi would tell you, sometimes you gotta break the rhythm. Do something unexpected. Move when they think you're still. Hold back when they think you're about to act. You take people, problems, even bad habits off guard when you control the pace. Remember John? Same guy from before? The one digging himself out of that mountain of debt? Well, one year, his company gave him a bonus. Now, most folks, they'd celebrate. Vacation, new TV, maybe a couple nights out at nice restaurants. John was tempted, trust me. But then he remembered something I told him about Musashi. Hit when the enemy's guard is down. The enemy in this case? Interest. He took that bonus and threw it straight at the principal on his highest interest loan. Boom! Knocked a chunk off it big enough that the interest started shrinking fast. And here's the best part. That single move shaved months off his payoff schedule. That's tempo. That's timing. He didn't let the rhythm of get bonus, go spend dictate his move.
he changed the beat. Life's battles are just like sword fights. Everyone falls into patterns, and patterns can be read, predicted, exploited. The bills, the deadlines, the social pressure, they all run on a rhythm. If you just go along with it, you'll always be reacting instead of acting. But when you see your chance, when you catch the problem off guard, that's when you hit. Not too early, not too late, right when the enemy relaxes, thinking they've got you figured out. That's when you step in, hard and fast, and change the game. Control your tempo and you control the fight. Don't let the world set the pace for you. Learn when to press, when to hold, and when to strike so hard it changes the whole match. And remember, sometimes the most powerful move you can make is the one no one saw coming.
Chapter 4: The Void and the Inner Victory. Musashi had this idea he called ku. In English, we'd say the void. But don't picture some scary black nothing. What he meant was this: a place inside you where there's no noise, no panic, no useless emotion, just clear vision. It's the place you fight from when you've stripped away everything that doesn't matter. Now, here's the thing most people get wrong about winning. They think victory starts when you knock the other guy down, when the scoreboard says you're ahead, when the debt is gone or the title's in your hand. That's not true. Real victory starts before the fight, when your head's quiet and your heart's steady. That's what ku is. We live in a world that's one big racket. Notifications pinging, news screaming at you, social media shouting, "Look what everyone else is doing." It's like walking into a sword fight while a marching band's blasting in your ear. You can't focus. The void, ku, is about turning that volume down until you can actually hear your own thoughts. Musashi didn't waste energy on things he couldn't control, and neither should you. Get rid of the emotional clutter. Stop feeding on outrage. Stop comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel. By now, you know John's story. Big debt, small wins, smart timing. But here's the thing. Even after he'd built some momentum, he kept tripping over the same mental trap. He'd log on to Facebook, see a buddy paying off his mortgage in record time, or hear about someone buying a new car, and suddenly his own progress felt too slow. That's poison. Comparing your pace to someone else's will kill your drive faster than any interest rate. So, John started practicing his own version of ku. Every time he caught himself looking sideways, he'd stop and ask, "What's my fight today?" Not next year, not what somebody else is doing, today. He stayed focused on the duel in front of him. And little by little, that quiet in his head became his default. 3 years later, the debt was gone. Just like that, $86,000 wiped out. But here's the part he didn't expect. That wasn't the real victory. The real win was what he'd built inside himself. He'd become the kind of man who knew how to win small battles without losing sight of the war. He could tune out the noise, keep his own rhythm, and strike where it counted. And that doesn't just work for debt, it works for anything life throws at you. Most people never get here. They either burn themselves out chasing the next shiny thing, or they give up when progress feels too slow. The void is what keeps you steady when the storm's loud, when everyone's moving faster, when the pressure's on. It's what lets you keep your sword pointed in the right direction. And here's the quiet truth Musashi knew. If you can master yourself, you've already won. The rest of it, the money, the promotions, the recognition,
That's just the world catching up to where you already are inside. Musashi's path wasn't about crushing every enemy in a blaze of glory. It was about learning to see clearly, act deliberately, and keep moving, one smart, precise strike at a time. So, when your life feels like a crowded battlefield, remember Ku. Step into that inner quiet. Drop the comparisons. Focus on your fight. Win today's duel, then tomorrow's. And before you know it, you'll look up and realize the war's over. And you're still standing.
Conclusion: building a life you can be proud of. You know, folks, Musashi never said life was easy. He just said it was a fight worth showing up for. And he didn't measure victory in one big swing of the sword. No, he measured it in a chain of small, deliberate strikes. One cut here, one step there. You stack enough of those together, and before you know it, the giant in front of you starts to stumble. I don't care who your enemy is right now. Maybe it's a mountain of debt staring you down every morning. Maybe it's the weight of everybody else's expectations, bosses, family, friends, telling you where you should be by now. Or maybe it's that quiet, mean little voice in your own head whispering that you're not enough. Doesn't matter. Musashi's rule still stands. Fight smart, not desperate. See, too many people burn themselves out trying to win in one grand moment. They swing wildly, they gamble everything. And when it doesn't work, they quit. But the truth is, you don't need to win the war tonight. You just need to win today's duel. Pay off one bill. Make one phone call you've been avoiding. Walk away from one toxic conversation. That's a cut. That's progress. And here's the beauty of it. Those little wins, they change you. They teach you that you can land blows, that you can stand your ground. Each one makes the next one easier. Pretty soon, you stop fighting from fear and start fighting from skill. And that's when you become dangerous, in the best way. Musashi lived 5 centuries ago, but what he knew still works here in our noisy modern world. Because it's not about swords, and it's not about ancient Japan. It's about the human spirit, yours, mine, anybody's. It's about knowing that whatever you're facing, you can chip away at it, little by little, without losing yourself along the way. So here's what I'm telling you. Don't wait for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, the perfect burst of motivation. Start with one cut. Win one duel. Let that be your proof you can do it. And then do it again tomorrow. That's how you win when there's no chance. That's how you build a life you can be proud of. Now, if you've been sitting here nodding along thinking, yeah, I needed to hear that, then don't just walk away and forget it. Stick around. I've got more of these old Musashi tricks for life. Lessons that work just as well in the boardroom, the kitchen, or the middle of a hard night when you're staring at the ceiling. So hit that subscribe button, ring that little bell icon, and you won't miss the next round we've got coming. Because the fight's not over, and you've still got a few good strikes left in you.